Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly challenged yourself? Not because life forced you to, but because you chose discomfort over ease? Most people today are living soft, quiet lives, not because they don't have potential, but because they've made comfort their god. They wake up, go through the same routines, avoid hard conversations, and tell themselves, maybe tomorrow I'll start. But Stoicism teaches us something radical. If you want freedom, you must break the chains of comfort. The truth is, your comfort zone is a cage. It feels safe, familiar, predictable, but it's also where dreams go to die. Slowly. Seneca said, "We become wiser by adversity." That means if you're not facing resistance, you're not growing. We weren't born to just coast through life. We were made to sharpen our minds, challenge our character, and build an inner fortress that no one can break. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during plagues, wars, and betrayal. But even with that chaos around him, his greatest battle was within. He woke up every day and reminded himself, "Today I will face selfish people, liars, the jealous and the arrogant. But I will not let them make me worse." Why? Because comfort creates weakness, but discipline and discomfort create virtue. And if you want to become unshakable, you must walk through the fire, not run from it. So here's the challenge. Right now, not tomorrow, not someday. Get uncomfortable. Do what you've been avoiding. Take the risk. Speak the truth. Push yourself a little further today than you did yesterday. That's how real growth begins. That's the Stoic way. If you're ready to leave the comfort zone behind and live with more strength, courage, and clarity, then stay with me. Like the video, subscribe to Soulful Stoic, and let this be the day you rise. Your future self is watching. Let's build the mindset that can handle anything. 1. Comfort is an illusion of safety. We often think of comfort as safety, a familiar job, a predictable routine, a quiet life without too many surprises. It feels peaceful. It feels secure. But the Stoics would argue that what we call comfort is actually a slow form of self-abandonment. It's not protection, it's paralysis. When we stay in comfort for too long, we start confusing stillness with stability. We stop growing, stop evolving, and convince ourselves that this is good enough, when deep down, we know it's not. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This means most of the fears that keep us inside our comfort zone aren't real. They're exaggerated scenarios our minds create to avoid discomfort. We imagine failure, judgment, pain, so we play it safe. But here's the truth. Staying in your comfort zone doesn't make you safe. It makes you soft. It strips away your resilience, your curiosity, and your inner power. You stop developing the mental and emotional strength needed to face real life. Comfort convinces you that you're okay as long as nothing changes, but life is change. And the more you avoid it, the more fragile you become. The Stoics believed that the only true safety in life comes from building strength of character, not avoiding challenge. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayal, and disease, and still he got up every day and asked, "How can I respond to this with virtue?" He didn't seek ease, he sought excellence. You might say, "But I don't want chaos, I just want peace." That's valid, but comfort isn't real peace. It's temporary silence. Peace, in the Stoic sense, comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. And that kind of inner peace only comes from exposure to difficulty, from stepping into the unknown, from doing the things that scare you, not recklessly, but intentionally. Your comfort zone may feel like protection, but it's often a prison. One built brick by brick with fears you never questioned. Every time you avoid trying something new, every time you stay quiet when you should speak up, every time you wait for the perfect time, you are adding a new lock to that prison door. And soon you forget what it felt like to move freely, to take risks, to live fully. The Stoics didn't avoid pain, they prepared for it. Seneca practiced voluntary discomfort. He would eat poorly, sleep on the ground, and wear rough clothes, not because he was poor, but because he wanted to remind himself that he could survive anything. That real strength comes from detachment from comfort, not dependence on it. If you can learn to let go of ease, you gain something far more valuable, unshakable confidence. Nature doesn't reward comfort. Trees that never face wind grow weak roots. Muscles that aren't challenged begin to shrink. The same goes for your mind, your discipline, your courage. If you never face discomfort, you never develop the tools to navigate life. You don't become free, you become fragile. And when real adversity shows up, as it always does, you won't be ready. So ask yourself honestly, is the comfort you're clinging to actually keeping you safe or just keeping you small? Because comfort might feel good now, but in the long run, it will cost you your dreams, your potential, and your growth. The Stoic path is not the easy one, but it is the path of strength. And the first step out of your comfort zone is often the first step into the person you were always meant to become. 2. Discipline greater than motivation? Motivation feels good. It's that sudden spark of energy you get when you watch an inspiring video or hear someone talk about success. It's the boost that tells you, let's do this. But motivation is a mood, and like any mood, it comes and goes. You can't trust it. One day you'll feel on fire, and the next you won't even want to get out of bed. That's where most people get stuck. They wait for motivation to come back, never realizing that the ones who grow, succeed, and rise don't rely on motivation at all. They rely on discipline. Discipline isn't about feeling like doing something. It's about doing it whether you feel like it or not. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius woke up early each day to fulfill his duties, not because he always wanted to, but because he believed in something bigger than comfort. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being." That's not just advice, it's a mindset, a reminder that greatness is built on showing up every day, especially when it's hard. You can't wait for the perfect conditions to act. You must create the conditions through action. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you didn't want to start something, but once you began, you got into the flow? That's discipline in action. It overrides the noise in your mind. It silences the excuses. And every time you practice it, you build mental strength. You begin to trust yourself. Because you know, no matter how you feel, you'll still move forward. The problem with chasing motivation is that it makes you emotional about your goals. If you're tired, you stop. If you're uncomfortable, you quit. But discipline teaches you to be loyal to the process, not your feelings. Stoicism is all about that. It's about ruling over your emotions, not being ruled by them. Epictetus taught that we should do what is right, not what is easy. Discipline is choosing what is right again and again, even when your mood screams otherwise. Modern life encourages us to stay comfortable, to chase dopamine, to indulge every little craving. But if you want real growth, spiritual, emotional, physical, you have to break away from that. You have to train your will like a muscle. That means waking up early when you'd rather sleep in, saying no when everyone else says yes, showing up for your goals when no one is watching and no one is clapping. Because that's what builds self-respect. That's what builds character. There will be days when everything in you wants to take the easy path, when your mind tells you you've done enough, or you can skip today. That's your test. That's the moment discipline speaks louder than motivation, and the more you push through those moments, the easier it becomes. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Discipline doesn't just help you act, it changes who you are. The Stoics knew that discipline was a form of self-love, not the kind that feels good in the moment, but the kind that builds you for life. When you live with discipline, you don't just chase success, you become the kind of person who deserves it. You become calm under pressure, focused when things fall apart, consistent when others burn out. And in a world full of distractions, that kind of person is rare and powerful. So ask yourself, are you waiting to feel inspired, or are you ready to become unstoppable? Because motivation is like the wind. It blows in and out. But discipline, that's your anchor. That's your engine. And once you master it, nothing can take your power away. 3. Train for the storm before it hits. Life is unpredictable. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't give you warnings before it breaks something inside you. Your plans, your relationships, your sense of control. Most people live as if nothing bad will happen. They build their lives on the assumption that things will stay smooth. But the Stoics believed the opposite. They trained for the storm before it arrived, because once the storm is here, it's already too late to start building strength. You prepare not when things go wrong, but when they're still going right. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being dark, he was being prepared. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves of death, betrayal, hardship, not to scare themselves, but to sharpen their awareness. They called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. They mentally rehearsed loss, failure, pain. That way, when those things came, and they always do, they were not shaken. They had rehearsed their response. Think of a warrior. Do they wait for battle to begin training? Of course not. They train every single day, mind, body, spirit, so that when war comes, they can act with clarity, not panic. You must become that kind of warrior in your own life. Practice patience before life tests your temper. Practice letting go before life takes something from you. Practice solitude before life leaves you alone. In this way, hardship becomes a lesson, not a breakdown. Most people pray for an easy life, but the Stoic prepares for a difficult one, because a difficult life builds a powerful soul. If everything is handed to you easily, you'll never develop the muscles to carry heavy burdens. And you will face burdens. This is not negativity, it's realism. The universe will not shield you just because you're a good person. Life has its own rhythm, and pain is one of its most honest teachers. We live in a world that encourages denial. We numb ourselves with entertainment, distraction, comfort. We avoid thinking about worst-case scenarios because they make us anxious. But avoidance is not peace, it's weakness in disguise. True Stoic strength is facing what could go wrong, fully, and choosing to live powerfully anyway. You don't train for the storm out of fear. You train so you can stand tall in the middle of it. Every time you choose discipline, every time you reflect on your mortality, every time you anticipate adversity and prepare your mindset, you are forging a version of yourself that will not crumble when the chaos comes. And that is a rare gift in this world. That is true self-respect, because most people react to life. The Stoic responds with wisdom, with calm, with presence. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you meet it. Will you panic? Will you collapse? Or will you stand up like a Roman general, like a Stoic philosopher, and face it head on? That's what all this practice is for, not to impress others, not to feel superior, but to make sure that when life tests you, you are not shaken by it. You are ready. So take this to heart. If things are calm right now, use this time. Don't waste peace on laziness. Use it to strengthen your foundation, because the storm always comes. But if you've trained for it, you won't just survive it, you'll rise through it. That is the Stoic advantage. 4. Growth lives where fear is. Fear is not your enemy, it's your compass. It points directly toward the place where your greatest growth is waiting. The very thing you're afraid to do, the conversation, the risk, the leap, is usually the thing that will unlock a new version of you. But most people run from fear. They distract themselves, delay action, or build excuses that sound logical, but are really just elegant forms of escape. The Stoics didn't believe in avoiding fear. They believed in facing it, because on the other side of fear is freedom. Marcus Aurelius faced fear every single day, not just as an emperor, but as a man. Fear of failure, fear of betrayal, fear of death. But instead of being crushed by it, he studied it. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, fear isn't about reality, it's about perception. And perception can be trained. When you understand that fear is a signal, not a stop sign, you begin to move through life with courage. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. If it's easy, it's not growth. The muscles in your body grow when they are torn. Your mind grows when it is challenged. Your spirit grows when you are forced to confront things that scare you and still choose to act. And here's the truth. If you wait until you're no longer afraid, you'll be waiting forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in spite of it. The Stoics didn't chase comfort. They chased character. And that meant going where the fear was. Think about your own life. The things you're most proud of. Weren't they things that once scared you? That difficult decision, that painful change, that bold move. But you did it. And afterward, you felt more alive, more real. That's the paradox. Fear feels like death in the moment. But when you face it, it brings you back to life. Because it strips away the false you, the one built on limits and self-doubt, and reveals the stronger, truer self underneath. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." That's why Stoics practiced imagining worst-case scenarios, not to feed fear, but to diffuse it, to realize that what we fear is rarely fatal and almost always survivable. Once you stop running from fear and look it in the eye, it begins to shrink, and you start to grow. Fear is a signal that you've reached an edge, the edge of your current identity, and the only way to evolve is to cross that edge. But most people don't. They retreat. They stay small, safe, predictable, and in doing so, they stay stuck. You can't become who you're meant to be without first letting go of who you were afraid to outgrow. The Stoic life demands that you walk toward your fear, not recklessly, but with reason and resilience. Facing fear builds something deeper than confidence. It builds self-trust. Every time you do the thing you're scared of, you prove to yourself that you can. And once that belief is planted, nothing can take it away. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop waiting for permission. You move, you act, you live. That is real power. And it only comes from walking through fear, not around it. So today, ask yourself, what am I avoiding out of fear? What conversation? What decision? What action? And then do this. Don't run. Walk into it slowly with awareness. That's where your evolution lives. Not in the comfort of avoidance, but in the fire of courage. Fear shows you where the path is, but only you can choose to walk it. 5. Detach from the outcome. Attach to the process. One of the biggest sources of anxiety, disappointment, and burnout in life is obsession with the outcome. We chase goals, money, recognition, relationships, believing that once we get there, we'll feel fulfilled. But Stoicism teaches us something radical. The outcome is never truly in your control. What is in your control is your effort, your intention, and your discipline. That's why the Stoics constantly return to this truth. Attach yourself to the process and let go of the result. Because peace doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from knowing you did everything you could. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens the way it does, then you will be happy." At first, this sounds passive, like giving up on ambition. But that's not the point. The Stoic isn't unmotivated. They are unattached. They show up with full force, full focus, full intention. But they do not tie their identity to whether things go their way. They do their part, and they surrender the rest. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. When you're obsessed with outcomes, your peace becomes fragile. If things go well, you feel great. If they don't, you feel crushed. That's a dangerous game, because you're now a prisoner to results. The Stoic way is different. It's about showing up each day, doing the work, refining your character, not because someone is watching, not because you're guaranteed a reward, but because it is the right thing to do. That's the root of inner stability. It's the calm that comes from knowing your worth doesn't rise and fall with circumstances. Think about a farmer. He plants the seed, waters it, and protects it. But he doesn't scream at the soil to hurry up. He doesn't quit because the rain came late. He trusts the process. That's what you must do. Whether you're building a business, healing from heartbreak, chasing a dream, or changing yourself, you cannot control the timing. You cannot control the outcome. You can only control your effort, your presence, and your response. And that's more than enough. Modern society teaches you the opposite. It tells you to obsess over likes, wins, results. But that mindset makes you anxious, impatient, and self-critical. You start questioning your worth every time things don't work out. You stop enjoying the work, you stop being present, but when you detach from results, you come back to life. You return to the moment. You start to enjoy the struggle, the discipline, the grind. Not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care so deeply about the process that you don't let the results define you. You stop saying, "I'll be happy when," and start saying, "I'm proud of myself now." That mindset gives you strength that others can't see because it's built from within. The world might not always reward you. People might not always recognize you, but you're still growing. You're still becoming, and that is enough. The Stoics believe that true freedom is found not in getting what you want, but in mastering your reactions when you don't. And the best way to do that is to fall in love with the journey, not the destination. Your power lies in your effort, your focus, your commitment. That is who you are, not your results, not your resume, not your reputation, but your action repeated with purpose day after day. So remind yourself often, I will give my all to the process. I will pour in my time, my discipline, my patience, and I will let go of the rest. Because what's meant to be mine will arrive in its time, and even if it doesn't, I will still walk with peace, knowing I became the kind of person who didn't quit when things got hard. 6. Repetition rewires you. Change doesn't happen through one big effort. It happens through small, consistent repetitions that shape you from the inside out. Your habits, your mindset, your beliefs, they are not fixed. They are programmed through what you do every single day. The Stoics knew this deeply. That's why they practiced not once, but daily. They wrote, reflected, challenged their thoughts, and trained their character constantly. Because repetition is not boring, it's how transformation happens. Modern society praises intensity. Go all out, make a huge change overnight. But Stoicism praises consistency. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And you can only embody something through practice, again and again, until it becomes your nature. You become patient by practicing patience when it's hard. You become disciplined by choosing action when comfort tempts you. Each choice rewires your mind, not instantly, but inevitably. Neuroscience today confirms what the Stoics taught centuries ago. Your brain changes with repetition. Every time you choose to act from your higher self instead of your impulses, you are reshaping your identity. You are breaking old cycles, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. That's why Stoic habits like journaling, silence, reflection, gratitude aren't optional. They are the daily chisels that sculpt your soul. You may not see results immediately, but that's the point. Repetition demands trust. Trust that the small action you take today, waking up early, resisting a distraction, pausing before reacting, is one more drop in a bucket that will eventually overflow into greatness. The world may not clap for these acts, but they are the foundation of character. The reward isn't always visible. Sometimes the reward is simply who you become when no one's watching. If you repeat weakness, you reinforce weakness. If you repeat strength, you reinforce strength. It's that simple. Every decision is a vote for the type of person you want to be, and your habits cast those votes. The Stoic trains himself not when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, because that's when the mind is most malleable. Repetition during discomfort builds a kind of unshakable resilience that comfort never will. So often we quit too early. We meditate once and say it doesn't work. We journal for a few days and feel unchanged. But the Stoic doesn't seek instant transformation. He seeks mastery through repetition. And mastery isn't sexy. It's not viral. It's invisible work, done in silence, repeated endlessly. But in time, it creates a presence, a power, a peace that people can feel, even if they can't explain it. Don't underestimate the power of showing up daily, of keeping your word to yourself, of choosing your higher values over your lower cravings. That's what Stoic discipline looks like. It's not grand, it's not loud, but it's consistent. And over time, it creates a version of you that is bulletproof, not because you're perfect, but because you've practiced being unbreakable. So repeat the work, repeat the silence, repeat the resistance to excuses. You're not just doing something, you're becoming someone. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. Not because you leapt, but because you kept walking. One step, one habit, one repetition at a time. 7. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Comfort feels good in the short term. It's warm, it's safe, it's easy, but stay there too long and it becomes a prison. Growth demands discomfort. It always has. Just like a seed must break to become a tree, you must break through comfort to evolve. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't chase pain for no reason, but they didn't fear it either. They embraced it when it led to strength. Because nothing alive, nothing powerful, nothing resilient is born from comfort. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." We wait for motivation to strike. We wait to feel ready. But that moment rarely comes. Instead, the Stoic acts now, before comfort sinks its claws too deep. Every day you stay in your comfort zone, your potential quietly rots. Your dreams don't die loudly. They fade, they wither. And worst of all, you get used to it. Look around. The most powerful people you admire, their strength wasn't born in comfort. It was built in resistance, in challenge, in risk, in letting go of certainty. When you step outside what feels safe, you awaken something ancient inside you. Your courage, your fight, your hunger. But stay where everything is predictable and you never activate those qualities. They lie dormant, not gone, just unused. The comfort zone is tricky because it doesn't look like a threat. It looks like a nice couch, a stable job, a quiet life. But deep down, you know when you're meant for more. You know when your soul is being underused. The Stoic doesn't wait for a life crisis to wake them up. They voluntarily step into discomfort so they can expand, stretch, and evolve. They know pain is not the enemy, stagnation is. This doesn't mean you burn everything to the ground. It means you challenge yourself in small ways every day. Say what needs to be said. Try what scares you. Sit in silence when distraction calls. Take that first step toward the dream you've shelved for too long. It will feel awkward, painful, uncertain, but that's the point. That's where the growth is. Not in staying where it's familiar, but in stepping into what is unfamiliar and choosing to adapt. Imagine a tree that refuses to break through the soil because it's too dark or too hard. That tree dies before it lives. The same happens to us. We must break through resistance, mental, emotional, physical, to rise. The Stoics trained themselves to face resistance with calm strength, not with complaint, not with fear, but with resolve, because they knew that every time you escape comfort, you enter a version of yourself that is more alive. You can stay where it's warm and safe. You can wait for life to hand you transformation. Or you can do what the Stoics did. You can choose the hard path. You can become your own sculptor, your own guide, your own fire. It won't be easy, but nothing great is. And once you cross that invisible barrier, once you leave behind who you were, you'll never want to go back. You'll never fit into the comfort zone again. So ask yourself right now, what is comfort costing me? What dream is dying quietly because I refuse to get uncomfortable? And then make the decision, not tomorrow, not someday. Now step out, even if it's just 1 inch. That's where your new life begins. That's where the Stoic is born, not in comfort, but in the fire that forces you to rise. Conclusion: it's easy to stay comfortable, to repeat the same routine, avoid hard choices, and tell yourself that someday you'll change. But deep down, you already know the truth. Comfort is not peace, it's quiet suffocation. It slowly steals your potential, your fire, and your purpose. And the longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to leave. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect moment to grow. They created it, one choice at a time. If you want to become stronger, wiser, more alive, you must step outside your comfort zone. Face what scares you. Practice discipline when it's hard. Let go of excuses and hold on to your values. Choose growth even when it hurts. Remember, fear is a teacher, not a threat. Discomfort is a doorway, not a dead end. And the life you're dreaming of isn't found in ease. It's found in effort. Each lesson you've heard today isn't just an idea, it's an invitation to act, to move, to change, not later. Now don't just be inspired, be transformed. Write down what hit you the hardest. Decide what you're going to change this week. And then commit, not for one day, but for every day that follows. You owe it to the strongest version of yourself. If this message lit something inside you, share it with someone else who needs it. Subscribe to Soulful Stoic for more truth, strength, and stoic wisdom every week. Remember, your best life doesn't begin when things are easy. It begins the moment you decide to get uncomfortable, on purpose.